Julius Peppers, Torry Holt were named finalists for the NFL Hall of Fame 2024 induction class. Two of the 15 finalists. Panthers fans, rejoice, be happy. Julius Peppers deserves to be in. I bet he will. NC State fans should be happy for Torry Holt. Made the finals again. It's not exactly his first time. But I know where the anger is going to come from. I know this. It's like the NCAA selection show, right? Nobody ever gets that mad about seeding. They get mad about snubs. And I know who they're going to get mad about. Steve Smith Sr. is not a finalist. Steve Smith, from his time with the Panthers, Steve Smith Sr., and he's now a media personality, obviously had a run with the Ravens at the end of his career. Steve Smith Sr. did not make the top 15. Now, to put that in perspective, the top 15 will later be whittled down to 10, then whittled down to 5, and then those 5 will be voted on. And if you get 80% yes, then you will get in out of those 5. So the most you can have in an induction class is 5. Steve Smith did not make the top 15. The fact of the matter is, and this is not going to be popular, it's correct. And it's not his fault. And it's not the voters' fault, at least not this year's voters. If you've been a voter for a long time, it's your fault. There is a backlog at wide receiver. We could nitpick who's better, Steve Smith or Reggie Wayne, Steve Smith or Torry Holt, Steve Smith or Andre Johnson. And there will be arguments on both sides. But the fact of the matter is they're close enough that they're all going to get in. I think you got to do kind of in order of how you got here. Once Larry Fitzgerald jumps into the pile, he'll jump to the front of the line, as he should, and be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But that next group, the group we're talking about, there's just a backlog at wide receivers. Torry Holt and Reggie Wayne are each 5-time finalists. They've been finalists 5 times. So I think they should get in next, because Steve Smith Sr. was not so much better than they are that he should be a second ballot Hall of Famer, and they get to be 8 ballot Hall of Famers. It's all just a line. It is a seniority thing, and it's because the committee has not done a good enough job honoring Hall of Fame wide receivers throughout the last decade. Here's an example, right? Terrell Owens was not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Terrell Owens is maybe a top 3 wide receiver of all time, right? Top 5. I don't know which, how you feel about him, but because of reasons that are completely irrelevant to football, because he was sometimes snippy with the media, because he got into a feud with Donovan McNabb, because he loves me some me, right? Because he was T.O., they did not put him, and because he didn't want to attend the Hall of Fame, he didn't get in on first ballot, or maybe that's why he didn't attend. I think that's more along the lines. Either way, he was not a first ballot Hall of Famer. You couldn't put in another wide receiver while he was waiting, right? You couldn't have guys jumping over him when he was in every different statistical way better than they were. So that just pushed more wide receivers into the back. More wide receivers into the back of the line, into the back of the line, into the back of the line. And now wide receivers that shouldn't have to wait this long and wouldn't have to wait this long if they were a linebacker or a tight end or a running back now have to wait. Steve Smith Sr. is a Hall of Famer. He will get there. He deserves to get there. His statistics say he will get there. But he has to wait his turn. And to be completely honest, they could fix this. The voters could fix this. Do you know how you do it? You put in 2 wide receivers every year for the next 3 or 4 years. This year, put in Torry Holt and Reggie Wayne. The next year, put in Andre Johnson and Steve Smith Sr. The next year, you just have to put them in there in groups and catch back up to the rest of the positions, and then you're good. But they won't do that. The voters won't do that because they all have these weird little rules in their own head that say, oh, I can only vote for one wide receiver. Oh, we can't have two wide receivers in a class, even though they absolutely should. And they should have done 3, 4 a couple years ago, but that's unrealistic because then you're making other positions wait, and there's only 5 that can get in. So don't be mad about Steve Smith Sr. not being a finalist. Be mad that Torry Holt isn't in yet, and that's making Steve Smith Sr. wait. Be mad that T.O. took too long to get in, which probably pushed Reggie Wayne back, which is now pushing Andre Johnson back, which might push Steve Smith Sr. back. That's what you should be mad about. It's not a personal diss to Steve Smith Sr., although I'm sure it feels that way. And I'm sure he's got some spicy words for the voters that are keeping him out. And I would expect nothing less from Steve Smith Sr., probably involving something along the lines of ice up, son. Like he's got that in his repertoire. But it's a bigger problem than that. Right? Imagine let me try to think of the best description here. Imagine if Ben Roethlisberger doesn't get in right away. Or if Eli Manning doesn't get in right away. Or if Drew Brees is waiting and then somebody like Ben Roethlisberger comes due. Pittsburgh fans are going to go, Ben Roethlisberger, first ballot Hall of Famer. It's like Drew Brees is waiting, okay? You have to wait too. Eli Manning is waiting. You have to wait too. Oh, but he's got 2 Super Bowls. So does Eli. Right? It's Steve Smith Sr. has a bunch of good stats. Yeah, do you think Torry Holt doesn't? You think Reggie Wayne doesn't? Oh, but Steve Smith Sr. didn't have great quarterbacks throughout the most of his career. You think Andre Johnson was just balling out with Tom Brady as his quarterback? His dream seasons were with Matt Schaub. Right, we can go tit for tat with every argument. The fact of the matter is, all 5 of however many receivers I've mentioned, Torry Holt, Reggie Wayne, Andre Johnson, Steve Smith Sr., all 4 are Hall of Famers. You're going to put them all in the 2024 class? You can't. So you pick 2, you pick 1, you put them in, you look at the rest, say, so maybe next year. By the way, get measured. Make sure we get your measurements because we're going to make the jacket for you. It's going to be a while. Get comfortable. Quite frankly, it might be good for Steve Smith's media career. Go complain on a podcast, get a bunch of millions of hits. That's what I would do. Congratulations, though. I do assume Julius Peppers is going to get in flying colors, and I believe Torry Holt likely in this year. Likely. So State fans, fingers crossed. Panthers fans, I don't think you have to cross your fingers for Peppers. I think he did the finger crossing that he needed to do.
Automatic bid.
Yeah. Him and Antonio Gates are probably the two auto bids. The rest are up for debate. I'm partial to Devin Hester. I think he should get in. I think Torry Holt should get in. And based on everything I just said about starting to check off wide receivers, I think you put Reggie Wayne in also. That's my 5.